What's up, man? OTAs are underway. You have had boots on the ground, eyes on practice. What's going on, man? How you feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling good.
Okay, let's dive in then. I got a bunch of different topics to get to today. First, let's start here. Do we have any updates on Alvin Kamara's timeline? And this was a question kind of posited by Jeff Duncan, and I'd love your opinion on. Is running back, in light of the Kamara uncertainty, is running back the biggest remaining question mark left on this team?
It's definitely one of the bigger question marks on the team. They did have interest in signing Tony Michel. He failed a physical here and then went to Miami and must have passed there and signed. So I think there's still maybe something with that knee that's a little bit maybe concerning. And that's been an issue for him throughout his career. So I think they'll have their eyes open and keep looking for somebody. And I think even with or without Alvin, I think it's a smart idea to add somebody to that spot. I thought Mark Ingram looked really good last year. I don't have concerns about his age or anything going forward, but I think it is just smart to have another person there that you can rely upon. I don't think Tony Jones Jr. is the answer there. And look, the way they used Alvin last year, I don't think that's a sustainable model. I don't think you want him running between the tackles at the rate he did last year, running into those 8-man boxes, taking a lot of hits. I think you want to get him into that role that he was more in from his rookie year through 2020, where he was kind of more attacking to the outside. It was outside zone runs as opposed to, power stuff up the middle. That's just not the right way to use him. As far as the case, the last update was that it got delayed. His lawyers requested more time on it. And, I think it's just kind of at the mercy of that court process playing out. The league doesn't typically roll on these things until the criminal aspect of it is over. And, I'm wondering, kind of how it's all going to play out. The way the Vegas DA came out and was kind of, they arrested him and they put out a post on Twitter. And then, there was just kind of like a lot of comments, like somebody felt this was an opportunity, in that DA office. So I don't know if this is a situation where this case is going to go away or become quiet or get settled. If they want to push it through, that's kind of where the issue would be. But I think they're going to keep probably trying to delay this thing. And the longer it delays, the better it is for this season. But I think at some point, there is going to be probably some type of suspension, and, we'll see what it is. But, yeah, I think that position needs to be a priority no matter what.
Yeah, and to what Nick is talking about there, even if Kamara settles, the DIA's office over there in Vegas, there is some talk that they may try to make an example out of Kamara. We will see. Okay, real quick here. So Tony Michel failed a physical. I did not realize that. I don't know how widely known that is. That is the main reason why he did not end up in New Orleans?
Yeah, you need to read the New Orleans football articles a little closer, man. It was on the site, but yeah, I didn't tweet it out. I didn't make it a big deal. I slipped it into a story a little while ago, but yeah, he came in. They looked at him. The physical didn't go well, and he obviously came and left, and then went to Miami.
Okay.
It's a matter of the options that are out there, though. I think they are looking. I think that's a clear sign that they're looking. They brought back Zigbo, somebody who's been around that they've liked. And we need to see, kind of where Tony Jones Jr. progresses. There's been positive signs there, but I don't think that they necessarily view him, maybe as highly as they did coming out of preseason last year. I think once he kind of got into some games, there were some things that came up that need to be a little bit better. But I think they're going to have their eyes open. And look, it could be something where you go through camp and then a veteran player just doesn't happen to make a team, late in camp, and you grab him then, and I'd use that chart there. So even if it doesn't happen right away, I think at some point it is a position where they're going to be looking and making sure, that there's not a better option somewhere else than what they currently have on their roster.
All right, Nick, that did feel like a bit of a shot there with reading the article, so allow me to shoot back as I already had this written down in our document. It is a direct quote from your recent OTAs article, quote, talking about Jameis Winston. He carries himself like someone who needs to succeed because the alternative isn't bearable. I wanted you to expound on that a little bit. You've seen Jameis practicing. He's kind of practicing through a limp right now, but he's doing everything that he can. What exactly, how are you reaching the conclusion that this feels like a man where the alternative to success just literally isn't bearable for him?
Well, look, I mean, the way that he's out there practicing, I thought it was impressive. The limp isn't anything crazy. He practiced fully. He was doing his dropbacks, but some other quarterbacks I think might have opted to stay off the field or just maybe stayed off the field on the days media was in there, so they aren't, talking about where he's at in his health and everything. But Jameis just feels like somebody that just is determined to make this opportunity work. He's practicing, like I said, through the limp, which to me just kind of shows what kind of leader he wants to be and the culture that he wants to set, and that he's taking everything about this opportunity in trying to make the most of it. And, if you listen to him talk, you watch him practice, it's hard not to be inspired by him, even from like a sideline distance as an onlooker. So I think that, his mentality is at a place where he's kind of doing everything he can to make the situation work. And obviously you got to go on the field, prove it during the season and all that stuff. But, if this were to be decided by, intent and actions, I mean, all of that stuff is there for him. So, he's been there the whole entire offseason. And look, the other thing, like when he's out there practicing the way he is, kind of limping a little bit between snaps, and you look around and see who isn't out there. And there's a dozen named players, not practicing. And that's fine. That's their prerogative. It's voluntary. But for him to be out there less than 100% practicing, being a full participant, I mean, I think it speaks kind of to who he is as a leader, as a football player, and how much this kind of matters to him. And I think to some degree that is going to carry him a distance. And I think we kind of see that in who he is, how he plays too. I mean, he kind of attacks the situations that he needs to attack. Like last year, he was struggling getting the ball to Alvin, and then, it's not working. And then he just sticks with it. Seattle, 10 completions to Alvin. And I just kind of think that hard work, dedication, mentality, I don't know if it's going to get him all the way where he needs to be, but I would gamble on his mentality if I had to, just kind of seeing what we saw at that practice. And I just that was just kind of my takeaway. Like you could just kind of feel the desire watching him, and it was just kind of hard not to take notice of that.
Well, and it's funny because it's right in line with a quote that got kind of memed, but that we treated seriously and dove into here on this show, which is that, I always knew I loved football, but now I learned that I love to play football. And really what he's saying there with that single word difference is he's no longer taking anything for granted, right? Like the entire process, everything about it, the ability to be out there with the fellas, like it means more to him than he even realized when he got hurt. And you mentioned the power vacuum, or not power vacuum, but there's a lot of absences right now. A lot of guys are for injury, but some are not. And I want to ask you about Dennis Allen's quote in a minute, but first, one guy who is out there, and you've gotten eyes on him, that is Tyrann Mathieu. And so my question is twofold. On the field, what have you seen out of Tyrann in terms of how it looks like they are going to use him? But maybe more importantly, with some missing voices, is there a bit of a power vacuum here for Tyrann to kind of immediately establish himself as that leader?
Well, I think Tyrann was going to establish himself as that leader right away, regardless. I mean, I think, you just see people even on social media, kind of the way they gravitate to him and interact with him. I mean, like people just kind of want to fall behind him. There's a gravitational pull to kind of his personality and who he is. So yeah, definitely that. But also another guy there, like you just kind of the passion for the game is palpable coming from him, and there is a little bit of a power vacuum out there right now. And I think that's kind of twofold. Like one, like you'd like everybody out there. Two, seeing, some of these other guys kind of practice a little more, get some more opportunity, kind of settle in to the fabric of the team while some of the starters are away. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, it kind of allowed me, and I'm sure the coaching staff and everybody else as well, to get like a closer look at a guy like Justin Evans. And obviously that's going to come over the time, but I think right away in this first OTA, like, he kind of established himself as somebody that, like, oh, wow, like, we really need to be looking at this guy. Like, he moves well. He looks like a good safety. He's versatile. Like, so some of that stuff I think can be a positive. And as far as how Tyrann's going to be used, like, we already saw him kind of moving around a little bit at practice. Some snaps at free, some at strong when they were kind of walking through, installing some stuff. There were some snaps with him on the edge. So I think that's going to be how he's used. I think that's going to be how Marcus May's used. Justin Evans is somebody that can move around and do that stuff. PJ Williams. So I think that's just going to be, the vision for those safeties is that they're just going to be all over the place. And, Tom Brady or whoever else is back there, needs to figure out who's where. And it's going to be hard to use those guys as identifiers of what they're doing.
Well, it's interesting, right? Yeah, they're taking on like kind of an amorphous blob sort of feel, isn't it? Bruce Lee says, "Be like water," right? Like
Yep.
whatever container it's in, water takes that shape. It seems like this safety group could do a similar thing. Again, reading the articles on New Orleans football, Nick, you did have, I don't know if I would call it a throwaway line, but I did, but it caught my eye. And you kind of put forth that maybe Paulson Adebo and Alante Taylor could be a starting cornerback battle. So opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, what is the vision? Is it Roby? Is he more in the slot? Does he fit in elsewhere? Is it Paulson Adebo and then Alante Taylor? Does Alante, like what? Who is going to be the opposite corner? It's early on, but like how legit of a position battle is that?
I think that's going to be up to Alante Taylor to kind of establish that, and I think that would be his quickest path on the field right now. Would be a battle with Adebo, and then whoever wins that out, gets the job. And he moves well. He has the right size. I think that there's still some development that needs to go on. But I think when you look at him out there moving around, just as an athlete, it's kind of clear, like immediately why they picked him, where they picked him. And now it's just a matter of putting it all together and seeing how much you can develop and how quickly you can develop. And I don't think there's any pressure on him to be ready right away, but he moves well enough that I think, if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson were to maybe seek a bigger contract somewhere else, like I think he could be an option in the slot at some point. And I think he's someone that if he develops, I think that the potential for him is kind of limitless right away. Roby not being at practice is one of the things that kind of surprised me, because I kind of feel like he's battling for everything right now. I mean, that cornerback room is kind of deep. I think he's probably on the team for sure, but I don't know if the snaps are there right away, and if something were to happen, it wouldn't be exactly shocking, just kind of given how he's fit in since that trade. So him on the team, though, I think he's probably depth on the outside, can play in the slot. So I mean, they got some options at that position, but my gamble, if I were to put a bet on it right now, starters, I do think it would probably be Adebo and Lattimore, but it's super early for Alante Taylor. So I mean, the possibility is there for him to get really good, really fast, sort of the way Adebo did last year.
Yeah.
And if he does, I do think that his upside, just based on the athletic profile, is really, really high. And I think at some point they're gonna have all three of those guys on the field. So there is going to be an odd man out or somebody at one of those corner spots, including CJ, and they're like, it might have to find multiple ways to get on the field. So it's going to be interesting after this season to just kind of see how those pieces fit together, because somebody's replacement, got drafted in the second round here. It's just kind of a matter of who it's going to end up being at some point.
It's a very good point, Nick Underhill, New Orleans football. Nick, is Cam Jordan's out there, right? I don't think I've seen him on the list, if not out there.
Yeah, Cam's always going to be out there.
Okay, so
nobody loves being around the team.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, right? It just he has got to be one of the most available players in franchise history. I mean, the snap usage rates for his entire career are out of control. He just missed his first game ever here not long ago. Had that crazy streak stopped, I think, by maybe COVID, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the point is that man is just always – it's like Cam Jordan underappreciated in all of this.
Yeah, he is. And that's like we kind of talk about like his Iron Man this a lot, but it still doesn't – as you're saying it just still kind of feels like it is a little bit underappreciated. And he's – his practice availability is even insane. Like he doesn't miss practice. Like he really, again, going back to like the Jameis quote, like somebody who loves to play football. I mean, that's Cam Jordan. And I mean, I just, kind of way he sets there in that mentality, like, it's something that's probably taken for granted a little bit. And, obviously some other guys on the defensive line miss action in that. So like, it kind of stands out even more how much he's willing to play and how available he is, and that is probably his greatest trait, and I think that's going to lead to his longevity too, because like he likes to play. So I don't think it's going to be something where it's kind of like the desire ever goes away. It's going to be the physical nature will have to be the thing that kind of has to recess on him a little bit. But look, I mean, kind of on that point too, going back to the OTA absences. You didn't ask this question, but I'm going to answer it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
kind of
go
posing to myself. Like, I do think that there's a little bit of like, okay, they didn't have OTAs the last 2 years. And some of these veteran guys probably did learn how to better prepare for the season on their own. And I think, maybe allowing somebody like Demario Davis to be away and spend time with his family and all that, like, I think those moments can possibly extend somebody's career when there aren't as many demands, and you can kind of allow them to have that balance as long as they show up ready to play and do the things they need to do. So I think DA kind of like not giving some of these guys a hard time is probably a wise coaching decision because you do have a veteran team and you do need to trust them and you do need to allow them to be, balanced on the things that they need to be balanced on.
Yeah, and especially with Demario Davis, right? Nobody can go after Demario Davis for his leadership or play on the field. Let that man do what he needs to do to get ready. He knows what he's doing. Nick Underhill knows what he's doing. At Nick_Underhill on Twitter. NewOrleans.football is the site. Go sign up today. Nick, what do you think about Top Gun?
Oh, amazing movie, man. I thought it was perfect for what it was. I went back and watched 1 again.
Yeah.
I actually think they exceeded 1. I like 2. I like 2 better. So, I mean, it took a long time to get it out there, but it was kind of a perfect movie, man.
Did you notice how sweaty everybody was in Top Gun 1? Everybody's very wet.
Oh, it's so funny. You said that. No, we just watched it yesterday, and I was just like, man, they didn't have like fans or ACs.
Thank you.
Like, why is everybody so hot?
They only had ceiling fans or something, dude. AC in the 80s, not as prevalent. Nick Underhill, you have a great day, man.
Yeah, you too, man. All
right, NewOrleans.football is the site. Go sign up. Coming up next, we're going to bump up Jacob Hester. Jake is live, boots on the ground, reporting. We'll talk to Jake next about SEC meeting days. Keep it locked here on OTB.